Our next speaker is Dennis Henry, who is the Director of Public Works, and he is the man behind recycling. He started recycling in Woodbridge before anybody was even talking about it. So here to get us to all to recycle properly is Dennis Henry.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to talk to you about the new norm in world recycling. China, who is the biggest importer of our recycling throughout the country, has now closed their doors to recycling because of the garbage that was brought to them. It started out as recycling. I'll get there and tell you how we got there, how we started, and how we got to where we are today. With China being the biggest importer and now refusing the garbage, our plan is to change our mindset and to get our residents to do the same in what we have to do. And part of it's going to be going back to where we started. When we first started recycling, it was very simple. It was cans, bottles, aluminum, and paper and cardboard. And that was it. But when China came in onto the picture, and I think it was 2000, they opened up the market. They started buying recyclables, paying large amount of money for them. When Woodbridge in 1987, New Jersey was the first state to implement the law that residents had to separate recycling from their garbage. Woodbridge, as always, we jumped in both feet. We went out and bought our own MRF, which is a material recovery facility. We started doing our own, marketing our own. One story that we had there, we used prisoners from the Department of Corrections out of Secaucus, who were guys with short term, the guys you see cutting grass and doing different things. They did our separation on our machine. Well, one of the adjustments we had to make was when people throw out bottles of wine, sometimes they don't finish them. Well, our first reuse program in Woodbridge was a prisoner, and it didn't go well for him, and we had to monitor a little better what we were doing there. But what happened with China coming on in 2000 and putting that much money into the market, MRFs built up all through, private MRFs. They came everywhere. They started building. They started telling everybody that they would take the recycling for more and more money. It became to a point where it wasn't worth Woodbridge having our own MRF anymore. It was cheaper for us to just take it and give it to the MRFs, who in exchange, they would recycle it, separate it, and then they would send it overseas. Well, it got so competitive and China continued to pay so much money for the product that they stopped separating. They left the garbage in with the recyclable. And now our goal at that time was more tonnage is better. The state came in and said we went from 10% to 60% recycling requirements. So everybody wanted to get more and more recycling. They started to allow us to use aluminum trays, rigid plastics, things that we were never able to recycle before. What this did was it caused confusion with the residents. What they started doing was throwing garden hoses in there, throwing chairs in there, throwing different things that, electrical cords. They threw everything in there. Plastic bags is the biggest nightmare that they started throwing in. But our recycling and everybody else's recycling, ours went from 8,000 tons a year to 12,000 tons a year. So everybody was, we were living good. We were getting top dollar for our recycling. Everything was working great. And then in 2008, a European TV crew went to China and embarrassed them on the amount of garbage that they were accepting from the United States and from Europe. China then came out with, I think it was called the Green Fence. They started to regulate recycling a little more. And that didn't do good enough, so they advanced it a little bit. They called it the Sword, where they started to cut down on the recycling that we were bringing in. Then you started to see the recycling companies start to go away, and there's only the big ones that stayed. Well, now they've cut us off. They've cut off the whole world, And we're looking at probably 34 million tons of recycling that used to go to China or other Asian countries, Vietnam, India, now that are not taking that. So we have to change the way we do things. We have to figure out how we can get back to where we were. The cost of recycling now is almost equal to the cost of garbage. But, you know, and a lot of towns and a lot of people in different states are just throwing the recycling into the garbage. So where we were years ago with recycling in the garbage, we're going back there. Woodbridge has chosen to try to go the other way. We're going to clean up our product. We're going to teach our residents that the cleaner that the product is, the less it'll cost us. And the reason for this is we're negotiating right now with a MRF to take our recycling. And instead of paying a flat rate for all our loads, this company looks like what they're willing to do is to pay us, the cleaner the load, the less we pay. So this will be pure recycling. And we can get back to that by training the residents and working together. And at the same time, the residents, they'll be a partner in holding down our cost and stabilizing the tax and the increased cost is going to be for recycling till we figure this out. The United States has to turn around. We have to figure out how we can use it more in our United States instead of shipping it out and depending on other countries. Because when China shut this down, they warned us. They warned Europe and they warned the United States. But there was so much money being made that we didn't listen. And we continued to send the garbage to them. And this is the result of that. So now we all have to buckle down and learn to recycle. And in the time that I just talked, this is going to be part from my recycling coordinator because she's going to love that I said this. There's probably been 2 million plastic bottles that have been disposed of. And the problem with the plastic bottles nowadays is the companies make them so cheap, they're not recyclable. So 2 out of 3 of those bottles are going to end up in the ocean or in the bays. If you drive a boat around New Jersey or anywhere, after a moon high tide, you see the debris, the recycling that comes in through the sewer systems, through the bays, that's out there. And she was correct when she talked about the fish. It's killing the fish. There's people that have gone around the world on boats. They used to see a lot of fish in the ocean. Now they see plastic. So it's something we have to do. It seems like it's so small that we can't make a difference. But if we don't start here, then everybody's going to go in the wrong direction. So Woodbridge is going to step up. We're going to do reuse at our community, at our convenience center. And we're going to change the way we collect garbage and recycling. We're going to monitor the recycling when it comes in now. We're going to start with our truck drivers. They have cameras in their trucks, in their hopper areas. They're going to check their loads coming in. They're going to report it to our inspectors. They're going to tell, our inspectors are going to come out and try to educate the residents. If you're a repeat offender, we're going to be progressive with it. We have inspectors that will go out and look at the recycling. So to save money and to be wise with our recycling and our tax dollars, these are some of the things we have to do. Thank you.